This is Tim Bryce with my column entitled Changing NBC Channels. I understand NBC has launched a new network entitled NBCBLK, NBC Black if you will, which should be applauded as a means to cover African American affairs. I think NBC has really hit on something here. Instead of just one network covering all of the news, now it will be fragmented to accommodate the black community. To be fair though, and not to promote racial interest, NBC now has a golden opportunity to meet the needs of all of our ethnic groups. Hopefully NBC will create many more networks. For example, NBC Scot, network for Scottish Americans, plagued with haggis commercials of course. Then we have the NBC UK. I have a friend who reminds me to have one for the Ukrainians. NBC IRE. Let us not forget our Irish friends. Should be anchored in Boston though. NBC ENG. Since our country was heavily influenced by the English, why not? Maybe we can get the Queen to be a correspondent over there. NBC NED. The Dutch were also heavily involved with the founding of the country. It should be based in Manhattan, which was formerly New Amsterdam. NBC Franco is for the French, who also helped us win the Revolutionary War, and that should be based out of New Orleans. NBC Italy for our Italian Americans, also known as the Cooking Channel. NBC Germ, based in Chicago, German Americans will discuss engineering and the driving habits of other people. NBC Ski, also based out of Chicago. The Polish channel should have some good jokes with it. NBC Austrasia will include news and info for people from Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea, Philippines, and Borneo. NBC Latino will be for the millions of immigrants crossing our borders. Will be based out of Tijuana, of course. NBC CAN is for our neighbors to the north, including Minnesota and North Dakota, don't you know. NBC Scandia is for Iceland, Denmark, Norway, and Finland, and to be anchored on a glacier near Reykjavik, or Minneapolis, same thing. NBC Asia is for Americans descended from Japan, China, Korea, Vietnam, and it's also known as the Educational Channel. NBC Indian is for our Native Americans, not India. Redskin football will be featured. And NBC Arab, and let's do it before ISIS and Al-Qaeda takes over. I'm sure there are more I'm overlooking. If you have any suggestions, please send them to me. I also understand Al Sharpton recently called an emergency meeting with Hollywood officials to discuss why there aren't more African Americans nominated for the Oscar. Sounds like racial quotas have finally come to Tinseltown. If we're going to go along with this, let me suggest meeting at the United Nations so all of the other ethnic groups are properly represented. Don't you just love racial diversity? Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.